Furious as he was at the slaughter of war, Einstein in late 1915 was immersed in the hardest work of his life, modifying and extending the equations of general relativity. In the third week of November 1915, he realized that the theory correctly described the precession of the perihelion of Mercury. Overcome with emotion, he told a collaborator he had the feeling that something actually snapped inside him. Friedrich Adler's passionate opposition to the war was directed elsewhere. At lunch on 21 October 1916, Einstein's parallel life friend took his Browning pistol, walked up to the Count Sturg, the Prime Minister of Austria, who was dining at the prestigious Meisel and Schaden Hotel, and put 3 bullets through the politician's head. Immediately arrested, Adler was matter-of-fact in his responses to the authorities' questions. In May 1917, the Viennese authorities hauled Adler before an exceptional court, the emergency court, in Vienna. A cause célèbre, the courtroom was packed, the windows hurled open, and hundreds hung on every word. In his defense, Adler reduced a wide range of offenses by Sturg, fastening on 2. Under the former leader's brutal bureaucratic rule, no one, Adler argued, knew who really ruled Austria. Go to a minister, and you would be told that it wasn't his department. You had to see Sturg. Go to Sturg, and you would be sent to the military. Sturg, Adler contended, was an opponent with whom one had to do battle relentlessly. It was Sturg who had dissolved Parliament, Sturg who had wrecked the progressive road toward democracy, Adler said, Sturg who blocked the road that most civilized countries were already following, Sturg who stood as a dead point that had to be bypassed if Austrian history was to progress. Sturg was the man behind the democracy-crushing regime of secrecy. To save his son's life, Victor Adler pleaded for the court to find his son insane. He invoked Fritz Adler's past history, where his drive to work had surpassed all reason. He gestured to mental illness found on so many branches of the family tree. Among Adler's allies who intervened was one from Zurich who brought with him news from afar. For barely 48 hours after receiving Friedrich Adler's communication, Albert Einstein intervened, writing to a colleague to garner support. The day before yesterday, I got a scientific letter from my old friend Fritz Adler. You surely know what the man has perpetrated. I know you never thought particularly highly of him because of his scientific orientation, but as a person he is an exceptional fellow, and extraordinarily selfless, which has gotten him into this stew, as a matter of fact. My compassion for him has grown so strong that I really would like to do something for him. In April 1917, Einstein also wrote Adler directly, then in prison, "When your affair is deliberated in court, I would like to be summoned there as a witness. You should apply for this. Do not think this senseless. Witnesses are important, but statements are also brought forward that shed light on the character of the perpetrator. How much I would like to discuss the relativity problem with you." The war, simultaneity, politics, all fused among Einstein's friends, including his politician-industrialist colleague Walter Rathenau, former head of the War Provisions Board. Modifying Einstein's thought experiment about the coordination of clocks, Rathenau dropped a letter to Einstein just before Adler's trial opened. "Your illustration of the 2 flashes of lightning in the train really gripped me here. Incidentally, I turned it into 2 dynamite explosions and a Tsar train. What startles the Tsar twice is only a single matter for the assassin." Einstein so feared Adler's execution that he wrote the Emperor, setting aside some of the most productive work of his life on a general relativistic cosmology. His Majesty, under the pressure of an unavoidable duty, I take the liberty of communicating a plea to your Majesty. The political murder, of which Fritz Adler is guilty, shook the well-being of every rightly sensitive person in the deepest way. With not a single word will I prettify this gruesome act. With regard to the psychological situation of the perpetrator, however, it seems to me to have to do with a tragic accident rather than a crime. Few can have known Herrn Adler so well as me. I have known Herrn Adler since we were studying physics together 20 years ago in Zurich. He was for several years still my closest colleague as an assistant professor in physics at Zurich University. We also were at that time housemates. In those years, I took Adler to be a man of the purest character, of an almost unparalleled selflessness. Few people have shown themselves to me to be so unqualifiedly reliable and honest as he. Few have, in such measure, overcome their own desires and devoted their strength to other than personal things. Under these circumstances, I feel an unavoidable duty, if I herewith submit to your Majesty, from the bottom of my heart, a plea for you to invoke the law of clemency in the event that Adler is sentenced to death. A valuable life could be so preserved. On 18 and 19 May 1917, Sturg's assassin broke his public silence. Hauled before the Ausnahmegericht, the exceptional court, as Einstein feared, Adler faced hanging. The pro-sanity alliance of the state that wanted a conviction, the medical psychiatric panel that found him responsible, Trotsky, who wanted credit for the revolution, that this was a sane act, and Friedrich Adler himself, who wanted to defend his sanity, left bad odds for the defense. But before continuing, we need to step back, because from prison, awaiting trial, while Einstein worked overtime to defend him, Adler went on the attack.